It's a beautiful weather out this way, and I hope it is the same or even better where you are. So today we're going to be bringing you how we made one of our own bespoke pieces, right? Yeah, as you can see, it looks very granny squarish. Yeah, the stitch used is a granny stitch, yeah, granny stitch, yeah, but of course we added our own oomph, of which I'm going to be talking to you about shortly. But before I do that, are you new to our channel? You should totally go subscribe. On a weekly basis we bring you brand new videos, inspiring you on all of the possibilities of crochet. We talk you through how we made one of our own bespoke pieces. We demystify what one celebrity or another wore by creating or guiding you through a variation of it. We talk patterns, we draw patterns, we modify patterns. Essentially, all of the tips and tricks that you need to make your crochet life easy, we do it on here. We want to thank our subscribers thus far and all our returning viewers. Yeah, thank you so much for all of the return. Keep coming back, and keep also requesting for what you would like to see on here. We have our galleries up on Instagram for our wedding day apparel. You can find those at Makisode Weddings. And then for our everyday corporate casuals, accessories, decor, and the like, you can find those at Makisode Models. Do well to follow, do well to like, do well to leave a nice comment, and do well to share our content. We would really appreciate that. So back to our granny stitch cardigan, granny stitch sweater, granny stitch, pullover. I don't know what you want to call it, but essentially all of this was made in most of it was made in granny stitch. So what did we do? We started from the base, yeah, from this point right here, just before the edging. This is where we started from. So the number of stitches you're going to need to go around the widest part of the person's body if the person requires that it has a snug fit. However, if the person requires that it is loose, you're going to be adding up to 3 to 5 inches more to that length. So if, for example, the length that goes around an individual is 38 and they want it to be snug, you're going to be using the 38 that goes around the individual's hip. However, if they want it a little bit more, want it loose, you maybe have to use up to 40 or 42 inches, wide. Now, on the other hand, something you should take into consideration is your multiples of stitches. So the granny stitch essentially comes in 3 double crochet stitches and a chain. So that's the multiples of 4. So you're going to have to work that number into a multiple of 4. So whatever that gives you is what you're going to have to do. So give or take, you may need to maybe add 1 or 2 stitches or subtract 1 or 2 stitches if you get to exceed or you fall below your multiple. So you go, you chain all the way and then slip stitch and start to work up your granny square stitches. That is it. That's as simple as that. So you keep walking in the round until you get to the armpit area, right? At this armpit area right here, you now split it into the front panel and the back panel. So when you split into your front panel and your back panel, you're going to be working up both panels. Now realize that for sweaters, where you have an armhole depth of say about 7, for sweaters you may want to make that about 7.5 or 8, and then so just add half an inch or an inch to give it a loose feel. Sweaters, not everybody wants their sweaters all tight. So if they want it a little loose, you're going to be adding half an inch or a full inch for the armhole depth. So that is how long that front panel and back panel is going to be. And like I always say, you work all of the rows except the last rows. All of the rows except the last rows, because the last rows you're not going to be working, for the back panel especially, you're not going to be working all the way to the very neckline. You're going to leave 1 row so that you can now work the shoulder. The shoulder will just take a few stitches here and a few stitches there for the back, for the back panel. And then for the front panel, when you walk up to half or about 3/4 of the front panel. So let's say, like we spoke about, your armhole depth was going to be 8 inches. So when you have walked up 4, add 1 more. So when you have walked about 5 inches up, you know that you have just about 3 inches left. So at that point, you can start to reduce to match up that shoulder width that you had created from the back panel. So you walk up after 5 inches, you walk up reducing to match up the number of stitches that you had created from your back panel, because you're going to have to join those to create a shoulder, right? So when that is done, of course, you walk out your sleeves. If the person required a long sleeve, you know that you're going to have to walk from that armpit area all the way to the wrist. All right, this individual required a long cuff. All right, so what we did was that we walked up, we were expected to walk about 18 inches. So we walked 12 inches of this width, and then we now snugly created the cuff with the remaining 6 inches. That's about it. It's really easy. We use the front post, back post, double crochet, double crochet, front post, back post stitch for this cuff. We did the same thing on the other cuff, double crochet, front post, back post stitch for that part. And then we created this, turtleneck. That's what some people call it, or high collar. Some other people call it that. We also use the double crochet front post, back post stitch. That's what we did. Yeah, really easy to work. And then we gave it a base. Of course, the base has to have a snug fit so that it can sit above the hip. All right. So what we did was that for every 4 stitches, we inserted 3. So yeah, essentially the 3 stitches that the double crochet stitches from the granny stitch requires, and then we ignored the chains. That is what enabled us to create this snug fit. So if you had multiples of, you have 50 multiples of 4 earlier on, you're now going to end up with 50 multiples of 3 for this base edging. That's about it. Is there any parts, any terminology that I used right here that wasn't clear to you? Please ask in the comments. Again, our tutorial videos right here are made with intermediate levels and advanced levels in mind. Our tutorial videos are not necessarily for beginners. So if you're a beginner, you may not understand the terminologies or what I am talking about here, because I do not work stitch by stitch on camera. However, I walk you through what I did, and I believe that if you're on an intermediate level or an advanced level, you will be able to replicate what I have done here. So let's say you love the pattern, you do not have the time to work it, and you would like for us to work this beautiful sweater, this granny stitch sweater for you. Do let us know in the comments, and we'll do it for you for a token. Now, on the other hand, you can crochet, but you would like a step-by-step guide as to the pattern. Also ask us in the comments. We would write you a pattern for a token. All right, so that's about it. But everything else here is free. But to work the garment, meaning the sweater, or to provide you with the pattern with which to work the sweater, those will be done for a token. If you're also a beginner, you want to join our classes, you want to join our tutorial classes, we teach online and offline, also let us know in the comments, and we will walk you through how to begin. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe. Bye for now. Okay, so something else, I didn't quite mention. There's something going on with my camera, because this sweater right here is purple. It is purple in color, purple, and then it has this yellow part. That's what the extra thing we did with the sweater. We added some color to it. So purple all over the body and the cuffs, but just this part right here from the armpit to about 6 inches above the wrist, we have yellow. So purple here, not blue. Okay. Thanks again for watching.